This is Algebra 1, Lesson 10.1, adding and subtracting polynomials. That's our goals. We're adding and subtracting polynomials. We'll model real-life situations with it, beginning on 576 in your textbook. Handful of definitions to start. First one is, what is a polynomial? Poly. The prefix poly means many. Think of polytheism. You may or may not have learned about Roman gods and Greek gods and stuff like that. But that was being polytheistic, meaning believing in more than one God. Same thing with this. Poly is more than one term. So polynomial is an expression which is the sum of terms of the form ax to the k power, where k is a non-negative integer. Because we know that if you're raising something to a negative exponent, we know that it has to go up or down. It has to ride that elevator. So a polynomial is something with a positive exponent. When something is written in standard form, it is going down. It is descending. This is the key right here. It's descending. That means it's going down. And it's going down based on the degree. X to the first plus x squared plus x to the third. This is not standard form. Standard form is when these numbers are descending. So this same polynomial in standard form would just be in reverse. This is standard form. So just think of your exponents as counting down. If they're counting down, it's in standard form. The degree of each term of a polynomial is the exponent of the variable. So each variable has a degree. Just like I just showed you, x to the third plus x squared plus x to the first. This is the degree. It's the third degree. This the second degree. It's the first degree. Now, when you're talking about the degree of a polynomial, all it is the largest one out of them. So the degree of the polynomial is the largest one. So whichever one is the biggest one in each case, that's the degree of the polynomial. So that's the one you're looking for. If it's written in standard form, it'll always be first, because remember, they're counting down. They're counting down. So it'll always be the one that's first, because you want to make it descend. 3, then 2, then 1. The leading coefficient is the same one. When they're in standard form, when they're counting down, the coefficient that's in front of it. So if we're doing the same example, x to the third plus x squared plus x to the first power, the leading coefficient is not 3. The coefficient is the number that is multiplying by. So all these coefficients would be 1. The leading coefficient is whatever this number is of the first term when it's in standard form. Excuse me. Then you have 3 definitions right with each other: a monomial, binomial, and a trinomial. A monomial, mon or mono, is one term. Something that has one term. Now, don't get confused with the fact that 3x squared y to the third z to the fourth, that is a monomial. Even though you can clearly see there are 4 things up there. That is a monomial. Polynomials are separated by addition and subtraction. So this is one term consisting of 4 factors. Next one, a binomial has 2 terms. So a binomial could be as simple as x plus 2. That is a binomial, because you cannot combine x and 2. There are 2 things. Bi, we know, means 2. 2 terms. Same example as above. You could say 3x squared y to the third z to the fourth. That's still a monomial, plus p. Now it's a binomial, because now there's a second term to go with it. And then a trinomial, just like a monomial was 2, a trinomial is 3. Same thing. They have to have addition or subtraction in between them. Don't let the fact that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 things in this term confuse you. It's putting terms together. So something as simple as x plus y plus z would be a trinomial. Or it can be many different factors making up the same term. But count the addition, or count the plus and minuses in between them. Three terms means a trinomial. Example number one is identifying polynomial coefficients. So you're talking about the numbers that are in front of the variables. Okay. The first thing you want to do is write it in standard form. You always want to put it in standard form. You always want to count down with your exponents. So x to the fourth power, identify the largest degree. That's the first thing you want to do. Identify the largest degree. And just reorder it to be in standard form. You know that's positive 3x to the fourth. So then the next one after x to the fourth is x to the third. So you know that that's negative 11x to the third. Then notice that there is no x squared up there. It goes from x to the third, it goes right to x to the first power. So since we're identifying coefficients, there is 0x squared. There are none. It's a placeholder is what it is. So it would be plus 0x squared. Then you go down to the next exponent, x to the first, plus x to the first. And then the last one is called the constant term, negative 9. It's called constant because there's no variable to change it. So it'd be negative 9. This would be written in standard form right here. 3x to the fourth minus 11x to the third plus 0x squared plus 1x. And they actually added in a 1 right there, 1x to the first power plus a negative 9. And it's just saying plus all of those negatives instead of saying subtraction. So then just identify what all the coefficients are. The first one is negative 3. The next coefficient is negative 11. The next one is 0. The next one's 1. And then the last one is negative 9. So that's how you identify the coefficients. Write it in standard form, counting down with the exponents, real simple. And then what is the number multiplying by the variable? So let's do that again on the back with this one. Identify the coefficients from this. First, write it in standard form, and then identify any coefficients that are missing. Take about 15 seconds. Okay, first off, standard form, 3 is your biggest exponent. So 2x to the third. There is no x squared. You have to identify it as a placeholder. Plus 0x squared. The next one is x to the first power minus x to the first power if you need to write it. And then the last thing is the constant term, positive 4. That's standard form. Now when we identify the coefficients, they are 2, 0, negative 1, and 4. Those are your coefficients, 2, 0, negative 1, and 4. The next thing, example number 2, is classifying polynomials. Remember, poly is more than one term. Sometimes it's only represented with one term. We'll call it a monomial. But typically the term poly means more than one. So we're going to identify each of these 5 polynomials. The first one says negative 3. Look for the degree first. There's no variable. In fact, not only is there no variable, there's no exponent. So its degree is going to be 0. There's nothing. It's not negative 3 to the this is negative 3 to the first power, but since there's no variable, it doesn't have a degree. It's 0. It's called constant because there's no variable. And since there's only one thing, it is a monomial. The next one, negative x plus 1. First thing you want to do is identify its degree. Now you have a variable. Its degree is to the first power. So its degree is going to be 1. It's classified by its degree. It is considered linear. Anything x to the first power will be called linear. And since there are two terms, negative x and 1, it is binomial. The next one, first thing you want to do, identify its degree, 2. So its degree is going to be 2. There are two terms, so it's going to be binomial. Anything raised to the second power is called being squared, which is quadratic. And we'll talk more about that over the next couple of months. Quadratics are anything raised to the second power. What is the degree of the next polynomial? Remember, it's the degree of the largest exponent. What's the largest exponent? It's not a trick question. What is it? 3. So the degree is going to be 3. Then count how many terms they have. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we could call that a quadrinomial because it's quad, but all we talked about was monomials, binomials, and trinomials. So we'll just classify that as a polynomial. When it's 3, it is considered cubic. And again, we'll talk about this column more over the next couple of months. What I want you to focus on right now is monomial, binomial, trinomials. Anything more than 3 we'll call polynomials, and the degree of the polynomial. So look at your degree of your largest one for the last one. It's 4. So you know the degree is going to be 4. And there's 1, 2, there's 3 terms, so you know it's going to be trinomial. And it is considered quartic. We won't talk about quartic in here at all. You'll talk about it towards the end of Algebra 2 and when you start getting into advanced math. But we'll start getting into a little bit more quadratics over the next couple months. We won't fool with cubics too much. But again, what I want you to focus on is the first column and the third column. You can identify the largest exponent as the degree, and you can identify how many terms. So we'll call that the fourth degree trinomial. We're going to do the same thing here. Give the degree, and then classify it by its degree and number of terms. I only want you to do 2 things for these. In fact, let's not do them all at once. Let's do them one at a time. What's the degree of this one, and how many terms is it? So what's the degree? It's going to be 0, even though it's negative 5 to the first power. There's no variable. So the degree of this one is 0. And how many terms is that? It's only 1. So that's a 0 degree monomial. And you could just do that. What about the next one? What's the degree? And how many terms is it? What's the degree? Now it is just like the other one was raised to the first power, but now you have a variable. Its degree will be 1. How many terms is it? Is it a monomial or a binomial? Remember, polynomials are separated with addition and subtraction. There are 2 things here, 1/4 and x, but that's 2 factors of the same term. So this would be considered a first degree monomial. What's the difference? What about this one? What's the degree of this one? 1 again. And how many terms are there? 2 this time. See the plus in between? So this will be a first degree binomial. And then the last one on this page, what about this one? What's the degree? 2. And then how many terms? There's 2 again, only one subtraction in the middle, so this is a second degree binomial. Let's do a couple more like that. I have 2 more like that. Same thing. Negative x to the third plus 2x plus 1. What is the degree of this one? The largest one, 3. So it's third degree. And how many terms do we have? 1, 2, 3. That's what I'm talking about. So this would be a third degree trinomial. And then what about the very last one? This up. Okay, this one, its largest degree is 4. So it'll be a fourth degree. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5. Anything over 3, remember, we're just going to call a polynomial.